Good evening and welcome to the October 27th, 2025 regular meeting of the Tredyffrin Easttown School Board. We'll begin as always with a salute to the flag. Regular school board meetings are business meetings that are open to the public, during which we provide several opportunities for comment on items before the board. The first comment period is reserved for announced additional agenda items and items on the consent agenda only. Additional public comment will be heard for the actions listed under other actions under consideration. The final comment period near the end of the meeting is reserved for all other matters of concern, official action, or deliberation which are or may be before the TESD Board of Directors and which are not covered by other comment periods. Each public comment period is reserved for residents and taxpayers. Additionally, the board will accept comments from sitting public officials for non-campaigning purposes, and by agreement with the TEA and TENIG, the board will accept comments from the union presidents. All comments should be directed to the board as a whole or to the presiding officer. No comments or questions should be directed to individual board members. All public comments and responses should be in the spirit of civil public discourse. Also, please be aware that intentionally disrupting a lawful meeting or the administration of a government function is a criminal offense in Pennsylvania. The school board values the opportunity to hear from the community in person and appreciates your cooperation in advance. Before we move on with the rest of the agenda, I would just like to note that we have board member Dr. Yolanda Allen participating by phone this evening. So next on the agenda are student reports. We'll hear from our student representatives, Maggie Neary and Lucy Salata.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so happy to be back with another student report for you all. I don't have much of a lengthy one this month, so I'll just get right into it. First, SOGA has their National Honor Society induction coming up the evening of November 5th. And this year, 233 new juniors and seniors are being inducted. That very large number really reflects Conestoga's emphasis on scholarship and moral character. Also coming up in a month is our fall drama, which is Clue, showing on November 20th to the 22nd. I've heard great things from the cast about Clue, and the theater production always puts on phenomenal productions every fall and spring, so I highly recommend everyone to go out to it, and I personally cannot wait to see it. And speaking of successful events, it is worth noting that this past Wednesday and Thursday were the Black Student Union Fall Fest and the Latino Hispanic Heritage Fall Fest. Both events celebrated their cultures as it brought students kindergarten through 12th grade to have food and participate in fun activities. Overall, it was a great hit, and everyone that attended loved it. And finally, from Student Council, the upcoming Red Cross Blood Drive is on Friday, November 7th. We really encourage students who are able to and are 16 and older to donate their blood. One donation can save up to 3 lives, and donating automatically puts you in the running for a $20 e-gift card. That is all that I have, and between this month's meeting and next month's meeting, I hope everyone has a great Halloween, and I'm excited to see everyone's creative costumes. I'll pass it over to Lucy.
Hi everyone, I have your student reports, or your sports reports for this month. So the fall sports are now in playoffs, and the girls field hockey team and girls soccer team are in the playbacks after being knocked out of the district tournament, and they're hoping to qualify for the state tournament, and they both have games tomorrow. The girls cross country team is headed to states after placing 3rd in districts, and the girls tennis team is state champion runner-ups, and the girls golf team is state champions. Winter sports will start up on November 14th, so everyone make sure to get in their PIAA forms. And that's all we have for the student reports this month.
Thank you, Maggie and Lucy, for those reports. Before we begin the highlights, I'd like to draw attention to the student artwork which was supplied by Valley Forge Middle School for this evening's meeting. Sixth grade students created dragon eye drawings using blended and layer oil pastels during their unit on Asian art. Dragon eyes represent vision, insight, and strength. The radial designs were created by seventh grade students using the letters of their names. The artwork was inspired by Pennsylvania Dutch hex signs, which were commonly found on barns throughout the 19th century. Eighth grade students created colored pencil drawings inspired by pop artist Peter Max. They capture a blend of psychedelic color, cosmic imagery, and bold graphic lines mirroring the art of the 1970s and 80s. Now, please join board members Dr. Roberta Hatinsky and Dr. Robert Singh and Valley Forge Middle School Principal Matt Gibson in greeting students and staff during the highlights session of tonight's board meeting. Special Education Supervisor Carolyn Macrina will be our reader for the evening.
Each month, the Board of School Directors invites TE students and staff members who have demonstrated outstanding achievement to attend the regular school board meeting to be recognized for their efforts. The board invites parents and teachers to accompany their students this evening as the board recognizes them. Those who are unable to be here tonight will receive their certificates at their schools. So when I call your name, please come up and meet Mr. Cataldi. Then you're going to come up and shake the board members' hands and Mr. Gibson's hand, and then you can go over to Miss Roy and pick up your certificates. Okay, so Valley Forge Middle School students selected for PMEA District 12 Middle School Chorus. 6th, 8th grade choir students were selected to represent Valley Forge Middle School at the PMEA District 12 Middle School Chorus Fest in November. Participating in the Honors Level Fest will be an opportunity for them to work with other talented singers from Chester and Delaware counties. They will learn from a guest conductor and experience the joy of making music at a high level. Students representing Valley Forge Middle School include Aaron Admasu, James Finlayson, Aditya Ganesan, Emma Alario Russell, Grace Liu, Dee Dee Maris, Ama Rajan, and Lavanya Venkateshan. Becky Reed, sorry. And Becky Reed is the chorus director. Valley Forge Middle School students supports school music ensembles. Lucas Lee has been an invaluable member of the music community at Valley Forge Middle School for the past 4 years. In the middle of his 5th grade year, Lucas asked to join the 5th, 6th jazz band on the bass guitar, an instrument that he had just begun playing. Since that time, Lucas has not only thrived as a bass player in the jazz bands, but he has also helped with numerous other ensembles along the way, sitting in whenever a bass player is needed. Teachers Ben Green and Craig Gonsi have called upon Lucas countless times, and he has willingly shared his talents to improve the quality of multiple performing ensembles at Valley Forge Middle and throughout the district. Valley Forge Middle School community supports new outdoor learning space. Last year, Valley Forge Middle School utilized grant funds to build an outdoor learning space. The school's faculty joined planning workshops and creative problem-solving students, supported by teacher Irene Clemmer, designed a pollinator garden and teaching area. As 8th graders at Valley Forge Middle School last year, Adam Nixon, Alex Nixon, and Jamie Bennett helped build a kiosk with whiteboards to enhance the learning space. Valley Forge Middle School is grateful to all of the members of the school community who contributed to this project. Valley Forge Middle School Eagle Ambassadors create welcoming environment. The Valley Forge Middle School would like to recognize the outstanding contributions of its Eagle Ambassadors: Gabriel Barhanu, Hank DeCurtis, Claire Spriker, Robin Kramer, Olivia Mikowski, Dylan Havey, Danae Ford, Nico Colmenares, Molly Vasundevan, Olivia Kim, Esmeralda Diaz, Cassidy McKelvey, JJ Mirez, and Matthew Ha. These students have gone above and beyond by volunteering at curriculum nights and welcoming fifth graders and new students through guided tours and ongoing support. Their efforts have made a meaningful impact on the school community. Courtney Jaggers is the faculty sponsor of the Eagle Ambassadors. Valley Forge Middle School student artwork featured in the school assignment book. Congratulations to the talented student artist whose work is featured in this year's Valley Forge Middle School assignment book. The front cover showcases original artwork created by Yasmia Mavlianova, and additional artwork featured throughout the book was contributed by Madison Solars, Jonathan DeJong, and Mia Yu. This collaborative effort reflects the strength of the Valley Forge Middle's visual arts program, guided by art teachers Courtney Jaggers, Zach Arts, and Jenny Weaver. Congratulations to all of you for your outstanding efforts and achievements. We commend you for your accomplishments.
So now comes the part of the meeting where we take a brief pause to allow those folks who, let's just say, may be slightly less interested in the business part of our meeting to leave if they would like, to do more fun things like homework and prepare for the next day of school. So we'll take a quick break, and we'll be back in a few moments. Okay, we'll go ahead and resume our meeting. Next item on the agenda is announcements of additional agenda items. We have none for tonight. The next item on the agenda is public participation from district residents and district taxpayers concerning any items on the consent agenda only. If you would like to make a comment on the consent agenda, please line up at the microphone here. When you come to the microphone, state your name and township of residence. We will end comment with the last person in line. All public comments this evening will be limited to 3 minutes. Again, this comment period is limited to the consent agenda only. To help with the timing, please make your entire comment, and then the board will determine an appropriate response. Okay, seeing no comments on the consent agenda, next item is board action regarding amendment of agenda to include additional agenda items. As indicated before, we have none. So now we move on to the consent agenda. Although board action is required, it is generally unnecessary to hold discussion on these items. With the consent of all members, they are therefore grouped, and approval is given in one motion. In the event a board member wants to discuss any item, the board president will move it to an appropriate place on the agenda. A board member may vote nay or abstain with respect to a consent agenda item without the need for removing the item from the consent agenda. The action under consideration is that the Board of School Directors approves the following recommendations on the consent agenda as printed on page 7 of the agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I think I have a proper first and a second. So I will turn to the board. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed signify by saying yay. Ayes have it, 9-0. Motion passes. Next, we have priority discussion on the agenda, but we have no priority discussion items for this evening. So then the next item will be the committee and ambassador reports. And our first report will be from the Policy Committee and Ms. Susan Audrain.
Thank you, President Kantorsek. The Policy Committee met on October the 7th, 2025. The following policies and regulations were discussed. Policy and Regulation 3100, the budget development process. The policy had no revisions and will be marked as reviewed. The regulation was revised as budget manuals are no longer printed. The following policies and regulations were discussed and will be brought back to the committee. Policy and Regulation 3160, transfer of funds within the budget. Policy and Regulation 3180, capital projects fund, non-bond funds. Policy 3181, capital projects fund, bond funds. Policy and Regulation 3185, Fund Balances Management. The policy and regulation had no revisions and will be marked as reviewed. Policy and Regulation 5311, Eligibility for Participation in School-Related Activities. The policy had no revisions and will be marked as reviewed. The regulation was revised to reflect the recent change by the PIAA to allow students from faith-based schools to participate in interscholastic sports governed by the PIAA. The following policy is on tonight's agenda on a second reading basis. Policy and Regulation 5411, tobacco products, possession and use, parentheses, students, close parentheses. A new title is proposed to include nicotine. Other revisions including moving the definition section from the policy to the regulation. In addition, the application of the Code of Conduct specifically for distribution was added to the regulation. The regulation will go into effect upon adoption of the policy. Further details will be provided later in the meeting regarding Policy 4340, electronic communication devices used by employees, which is listed on tonight's agenda for approval on a first reading basis. The next Policy Committee meeting is scheduled for November the 5th at 7 p.m. in the district office. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Audrain. Next, we'll have a report on the Diversity Committee from Mr. Kenneth Hong.
Thank you, President Kantorsek. The District Diversity Committee held its first meeting of the 2025-26 school year on Wednesday, October 15th at the TE Administrative Office. This meeting was especially meaningful as it marked the final session under the leadership of Dr. Oscar Torres. Dr. Torres opened the meeting by reaffirming the committee's mission and sharing its history, highlighting the profound impact it has had on the district over the years. A roundtable followed, where each attendee introduced themselves and their role within the district, schools, or broader community, including 2 newly appointed teachers. Committee members also shared personal reflections on what the Diversity Committee has meant to them and the influence it has had on their lives and the district as a whole. Dr. Torres then introduced Dr. Kim D. Morris as the new Director of Equity and Public Programs. Dr. Morris shared her background, her journey within TESD, and her vision for the future of equity and public engagement in the district. Superintendent Dr. Richard Gusick also joined the conversation as he addressed questions from the community members regarding the committee's future direction. A heartfelt video presentation featured 3 TESD graduates who were actively involved in the committee. They spoke about the lasting impact of Dr. Torres and the committee on their personal growth, educational experiences, and the district community. Current student members also expressed their appreciation and shared testimonies about how the committee has shaped their perspectives and experiences. Community members and parents contributed their thoughts on the committee's significance and emphasized the importance of its continued presence. The meeting concluded with a special celebration honoring Dr. Torres for his unwavering dedication and leadership to the Diversity Committee during his 27-year tenure at TESD. His legacy and contributions have left an indelible mark on the district and its commitment to equity and inclusion. The next meeting will be held at 7 p.m. November 11th, 2025 at the TEAO.
Thank you, Mr. Hong. Next, we will have a report from the Finance Committee from its chair, Dr. Roberta Hatinsky.
Thank you very much, President Kantorsek. We met on Monday, October 6th, and had a relatively short meeting. We received our monthly financial reports. Mr. Livergood reviewed, our assistant business manager, reviewed the financials. Overall, local revenues are higher this year than last year by about $4.1 million. The primary difference from this year to last is real estate tax collected. Total revenue so far is over $130.3 million. Our expenditures and encumbrances show instructional expenses are slightly lower percentage-wise as a percentage of budget this year for 80.2% this year versus 82.2% last year, but we are still early on in the year. The percentage of our total expenditures is about 74.6% of budget overall, which is similar to our percentage of spending last year. General fund expenses and encumbrances at the end of September are $146,489,229, and we recommended that those reports be placed on the consent agenda, which you can find within the agenda in page 41 and following, and there's about 40 pages of numbers there if you're interested in delving in. We then received an audit update from Mr. McDonald, our business manager. He let us know that the auditors are getting closer to finalizing the audit for the 24-25 school year. That budget included a $6 million transfer to the capital fund. However, based on the latest revenue and expenditure figures, moving the $6 million would draw down our fund balance by almost $500,000. Potentially impacting our bond rating. Therefore, the administration recommended moving a $5.5 million, doing that transfer to the capital budget. And after discussion, the committee agreed. And so that transfer amount of $5.5 million is what will be included in our audit. And just as a reminder, we are making these transfers to the capital fund proactively to fund our current and future capital projects like the athletic fields and the new Bear Hill Elementary School. For next year's budget, we discussed the Act 1 index. It will be 3.5% for the coming, for next year's budget, the 26-27 school year, which in our district would generate about $6.7 million in additional real estate tax revenue. Mr. McDonald also stated that we are working on projected calculations for referendum exceptions. A preliminary estimate is that we may be eligible for an exception of 1.4% in real estate tax that could generate up to $2 million in additional revenue. Then moving on to the 26-27 budget development and calendar, Mr. McDonald stated that he'll come to the committee in December with the preliminary 26-27 budget summary. That's our first look at the budget, and begins our annual budget process, during which we have 7 finance committee meetings, 2 budget workshops in March and April, and several regular board meetings at which the budget is discussed. So there's plenty of opportunity for public comment, and a final budget is adopted in June. So we will start the process in December, but it stretches for quite a while. Members of the public are invited and encouraged to attend these meetings to learn about the district finances and challenges and to comment on district plans. Our next meetings will be on Monday, November 17th, and Monday, December 15th, both at the TE administrative offices. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tinsky. Next, we'll have a report from the Facilities Committee and its chair, Dr. Robert Singh.
Thank you, President Kantorsek. The Facilities Committee met on October 14th. There were a number of items on the agenda to discuss. First, an update was given for the relocation of a TE Middle School outdoor learning space, which was previously approved. The area was moved to be a better part of the learning environment at TE Middle School. Next, we talked about construction infrastructure projects for summer 2026 for HVAC renovations and upgrades, as well as the interior and exterior renovations and upgrades for area buildings. It's currently completed the bidding process. By reports, the contractors were well represented across the trade classes, and the committee will review the bids at our upcoming November committee meeting. Next, an athletic fields project update. This included an aerial drone overview as well as still photography. These pictures are available at the TESD website. The quick link section, athletic field project, is located on the left side of the page. These updates and video tend to be updated weekly. So even though our meeting was on October 14th, we're 13 days away. So some of the things I'm about to review have probably either been completed or well underway from what I'm about to tell you the current status. So currently the athletic fields project, Turf Field 2, has been completed. Turf Field 1 has been ready for turf installation. The tennis court's completed and track resurfacing is also complete. Internal roadways and internal sidewalks have been installed in most locations. Road work along Old State Road, Irish Road, and Cassatt Road has already been started. The fieldhouse trusses have been installed, scoreboards have been installed, grounds and field buildings and the fields building is well underway. The practice field and softball field has an anticipated completion at the end of this week. The field house has been delayed, however, it has since picked up over the last 2 weeks. There was a change order needed for the highway occupancy permitting work that's being completed on Cassatt Road. This is required by the state, and that change order was in the amount of $164,182.57. Next, an update was given on the Bear Hill Elementary School. Once again, the TESD.net website, elementary school on the left, provides videos and timeline as well as still photography for the public to see. The current status of the elementary school, Bear Hill Elementary School, is the construction fencing has been erected around the perimeter. Site demolition, existing asphalt curbs and other site elements continue. Trenching of utilities, demolition of slabs has occurred. The existing generator in the building was relocated until the next phase of construction. There's been the draining of the existing retention basin, which is near completion. Ductwork in the building has been demolished and removed. The review of construction submittals is an ongoing process. The existing fire sprinkler branch piping has been cut and removed. and there is a construction trailer on site for district use. There were 2 hidden conditions discovered in the building. There was a void discovered below the existing concrete slab in which a change order was needed for the slab removal. And that initial change order is $14,121.24. The fill elements and remediation efforts will be discussed at our next meeting. There was also an existing underground piping serving the rainwater conductors were uncovered during slab demo. These do not properly slope away from the building, and the design team is developing a plan, and I will report at our next meeting. Next item on the agenda was the TESD network project. This is a wireless network equipment replacement. The network equipment is at the end of its 5-year life cycle, and this bid was for the preparation of an E-rate value of the wireless equipment. This can provide up to a 40% basically rebate for the cost if and when the project is approved. Our consultant, Salton Solutions, which has done the network upgrades in the district, was approved for a fee for these services. These services include the E-rate preparation, evaluation, recommendation, and also the radio frequency predictive site surveys and the project technical and management oversight. The fee letter was $57,200. Next item was an overview of the environmental sustainability as it relates to the operational enhancements in our district. It was felt that some updates and clarifications was needed, and I hope to have a final report at the next meeting. We also reviewed our capital sources and uses. Briefly, it was important to note that the fiscal year approved and the actual infrastructure project budgets have been trending lower the last 3 budget cycles as the school district continues to prioritize and strategize the most important projects that demand our attentions in our infrastructure. We then looked at our committee goals and they were updated and approved for this committee for 2025-26 school year. The meeting was adjourned, and our next meeting will be at 7 p.m. November 18th at the TEAO. All are welcome to attend. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. Next, we'll have a report from the Education Committee from Vice President Sue Teedy.
Thank you. The Education Committee met on October 9th, and the first order of business was a final look at the draft calendar for the 26-27 school year, with one modification from the September draft, which moves spring parent conferences at the elementary school. The committee recommended that the calendar be moved to the full board for approval. This evening, later in the meeting, Dr. Toll will present that calendar, and if it is approved, it will appear on the district website very soon as the approved calendar for the coming school year. The committee then received a summary of state assessment data from the spring of 2025 testing periods. Mr. Mark Cataldi, Director of Assessment and Accountability, provided an overview of the PSSA testing. As the state moves to all online testing, our 3rd, 5th, and 8th graders took the test online this year. The Pennsylvania Department of Education is late in releasing the statewide data, and therefore TESD cannot really compare its results to other school districts in Pennsylvania at this time. That data is expected sometime in November. Parents, though, have received reports on their individual students, and teachers and administrators have reviewed both individual and grade-wide results. The district results remain strong, but there were still some areas of concern. As a result, Mr. Cataldi shared the areas of focus that have been identified by administrators and teachers to be implemented this year in order to shore up some of those weaker areas. The keystone results in algebra, biology, and literature were summarized. Mr. Cataldi noted that 80% or more of TE students taking these tests scored at the proficient or advanced levels. He also shared some of the strategies for assessment success which are employed by our teachers. And finally, the results of the advanced placement exams were presented. On average, with 5 being the highest attainable score, Conestoga students averaged 4.09 across all the subject areas. 95% of Conestoga students taking AP exams scored 3 or better, which is the highest level for that scoring range. In total, 1,060 students at Conestoga participated in these voluntary assessments, and they took 2,695 exams in 31 different subjects. All of this information is available in detail on the district website in the school board section under the Education Committee. Our next meeting will take place on November 6th, and we will be hearing at that time from our demographer about our population trends in the schools. All are invited to attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Teeding. Next, we'll have a report on our ad hoc legislative committee from Ms. Marianne Piccioni.
Thank you, President Kantorsek. For your information, the Chester County School Board Legislative Council met virtually on October the 22nd. We discussed these items in detail: the state budget, the federal budget, and legislative actions passed by the House, including amendments to Senate Bill 246, Weapons in Schools. I turn to Mr. Kenneth Hong for concluding remarks.
Thank you, Ms. Piccioni. On October 18th, 2025, Ms. Piccioni and I represented our school district at the Pennsylvania School Board Association Delegate Assembly held at the Convention Center near Mount Pocono, where we joined school board directors from across the state. We traveled to the assembly at no cost to the district taxpayers. The Pennsylvania School Board Association is the statewide organization representing public school boards. The legislative platform adopted by the Assembly guides the PSBA's advocacy with state lawmakers on issues directly affecting PA public schools. Here's a few highlights from the Assembly. Several platform items were removed after being successfully enacted over the last year. For example, Act 55 of 2024, which included important charter school reforms. The Assembly also adopted to its platform restrictions on the use of AI tools to assess or screen any individual written response by a student on a statewide standardized test. Our school board's participation allows us to help set priorities that will benefit students locally and across the Commonwealth. More details can be found on the PSBA's platform at pbsa.org. That concludes our report.
Thank you, Ms. Piccioni, and thank you, Mr. Hong. Next on the list is the Ad hoc Public Information Committee. Unfortunately, Dr. Yolanda Allen, who was on the phone, had to leave us because the plane that was delayed and caused her to have to be missing from today's meeting was boarding. So she is now back en route, and we hope safe travels for her. So now we will move down to a report from the Intermediate Unit Technical School and back to Ms. Marianne Piccioni.
Thank you. The Chester County Intermediate Unit Board of Directors met on Wednesday, October the 15th at the CCIU Learning Center in Coatesville. Victor Brown, the interim principal at the CCIU Learning Center, gave a presentation on the new Senior Blitz program at the CCIU Learning Center. It is a proactive initiative designed to ensure that every graduating senior is fully prepared for life after high school. Through one-on-one meetings with administrators, students will receive personalized guidance to confirm their post-secondary plans. These structured conversations will help assess each student's readiness, identify any gaps in support, and connect them with resources such as the Office of Vocational Rehabilitation, which now provides monthly on-site assistance. The initiative also aims to strengthen collaboration with families, ensuring they are informed and supported throughout the transition process. Dr. Jean McCarthy, Director of Brandywine Virtual Academy, highlighted the progress and expansion of BVA's wellness, world language, art, and physical education programs. The next CCIU Board of Directors meeting will be held on Wednesday, November the 19th at 7:30 at the Technical College High School Pennock's Bridge in West Grove. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Piccioni. And finally, we'll have a report from our newest ad hoc committee, the Ad hoc Redistricting Committee, and its chair, Dr. Roberta Hatinsky.
Thank you. Our last meeting was in May, and I had reported on that at a previous meeting. And our next meeting will be tomorrow, actually, at 7 p.m. in the TE administrative offices. We will be reviewing the main thrust will be legal considerations for redistricting as well as best practices, and we will begin to discuss parameters that will guide the redistricting for Bear Hill Elementary School and possible approaches to that and next steps. So all are welcome and encouraged to attend tomorrow at 7 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hatinsky. Now we will move to other actions under consideration. The action under consideration is that the Board of School Directors adopts the resolution on page 104 of the agenda, which sets the instructional calendar for the 2026-27 school year and designates Section 15-1502A and Act 80 days as part of the approved calendar. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Right, we have a proper first and a second. I will turn to Dr. Wendy Toll, who will present background information before discussion.
Good evening. Thank you. As Mrs. Teedy mentioned, the 2026-2027 calendar has been brought to the Education Committee both in September and in October for consideration by the committee and is now ready to be presented to you all for full board approval. As you look at this calendar, you will notice that it follows a very similar framework to the calendar that we have in place today, beginning with our new Teacher Summer Academy on August 17th and the first day for teachers on the 26th of August with the first day for students on the 31st. As we move into September, of course, there's Labor Day that we will have no school, and then the 21st of September is another day off for staff and for students. October has no days off. And then we move on to November, where we have an in-service day, as we've traditionally had on our election day, followed later in the month by both conferences and the Thanksgiving holiday. Moving forward then into December, winter break ends on January 1st. And then the 18th is another day off from school for Martin Luther King Day. In February, there is an in-service day on the 5th of February. And then on the 15th, we have President's Day off. As Mrs. Teedy mentioned, we moved our parent conferences to the second round of parent conferences to March to provide a little bit more time between the November and the March conferences for teachers to really gather some excellent information to share with families about the students. March 10th is another day off, followed by the week of the 22nd, which is our spring break. April has no days off. And then we move into May, where we have the primary election day, which again is an in-service day, followed by Memorial Day on the 31st. School ends tentatively for students on the 15th of June and for teachers on the 17th. You'll note as you look down at the calendar in the right-hand corner, if we need to have emergency closing days next year, once again, the first 5 days will be flexible instruction days, which is a time where students are able to continue their learning virtually through the use of their devices at home. Should we need to use more than 5 flexible instruction days, that's when we need to start using some of those makeup days that you see outlined on the calendar. Any of the days that can be used for makeup of emergency days have an underline. So the 16th, the 17th, 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. Hopefully we will not need to use any of those. So there you have it.
Thank you, Dr. Toll. I know that we've talked about this at a couple education committee meetings, but it's now time for me to turn to the board and see if we have any further comments from the board. Okay. Seeing none, the board now invites members of the audience to comment on this item. If you have comments or questions, please step to the microphone and identify yourself. All right, seeing none, I'll go back to the board. Any final comments? All right, looks like we're ready for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed signify by saying nay. Ayes have it, 8-0. The next action under consideration is that the Board of School Directors approves the following policy on a first reading basis as ready for adoption at the next regular meeting. Policy 4340, electronic communication devices, use by employees. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a proper first and a second. I'll turn to Mrs. Audrain for additional context.
Thank you, President Kantorsek. The committee discussed the practical implications of this policy. While the law was changed that states that you cannot use a handheld device, we really looked at what this would mean in the implementation. And so the practical implication is use of a speakerphone where you don't have to hold the phone in your hand would be an acceptable practice that would make this much more practical in effect. So that's really how we decided to proceed with this.
Thank you, Ms. Audrain. And yes, I would agree with you that we had a lengthy discussion about the practicalities of cell phone use, electronic device use by employees. So it's a good conversation, and I think we got to where we need to be. So, but with that, I will still turn back to the board and see if we have any comments from board members. Okay? The board now invites members of the audience to comment on this item. If you have comments or questions, please step to the microphone and identify yourself. Seeing none, I'll go back to the board and see if there are any last comments from the board. All right, looks like we're ready for another vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nope, ayes have it, 8-0. Now we come to the point of the agenda for public participation from district residents and district taxpayers concerning non-agenda matters of concern, official action, or deliberation which are or may be before the board. Residents and taxpayers may now address the board on matters that are not included on the agenda. If you have a comment, please step up to the microphone. Thank you. And as a reminder, please state your name and residence, and you have 3 minutes.
My name is Mike Bradley. I'm in Tredyffrin Township. Can you hear me all right? Okay. I have a 13-year-old daughter at Valley Forge Middle School, so I'm really here on her behalf. There are several things that I'd like to talk about. It'd probably be too detailed to bring them all up here. I think it's best to categorize them in 2 groups. One is that probably both fall under the Education Committee umbrella. One is the inclusion or addressing of different curricular topics at Valley Forge. And then the second is testing, which you addressed this evening, but getting a little more specific around that testing. So in other words, what are the gap areas? What are the strategies that are related to improving those gap areas? What are the strategic objectives that are related to those improvements as it pertains to the district's perspective? You know, that I can table for right now and probably educate myself on a little bit more. I think both of these things. I'm really here to kind of like learn how I can better educate myself and be involved I have a lot of presumptions about things, but I want to ensure that I don't put my presumptions out there before educating myself, right? So I guess to encapsulate would be kind of, I guess a question would be, if I have specific ideas around things that I think can help my daughter at Valley Forge, but I want to be smart and I want to be respectful about submitting my ideas about those things and engaging in detailed conversation around those things, in particular in areas that I have a background in. How do I do that? I'll wait for a response, I guess.
Just in terms of, what we try to do is we try to do the whole comment first so that from a timing
Okay.
perspective. But
So I'll just continue with a bit more detail. So how do I engage? What is the district doing currently in terms of AI literacy? Not just from the perspective of educating the teachers, but from specifically how are students being exposed to AI literacy topics given the proliferation of the technology and the rate of speed at which it's advancing. And I guess third, more specifically around the testing, I covered the specifics as they relate to the areas for improvement. The last thing I'll say is in terms of testing, I would also be interested in understanding the discrimination between how high the grades are in the school and how, relatively speaking, low the average national normed values are in math as compared to what grades might be. And this is for an individual.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I will try to respond to a number of those. First, your first question is to how to engage. Well, you're doing it now,
Yeah.
so that's great. This is one way to do it. As you can see from our board meetings, these are business meetings, and so
Right.
they're very of general applicability.
Exactly.
And it's more difficult for us to get into details
Yeah.
about certain things.
Of course.
As a predecessor of mine once said, the cake is baked a lot of times
Right.
at our committee meetings.
Yeah.
And so I would encourage you to attend those meetings. If you are talking about questions that you have about general applicability, I'm sort of working backwards a little bit here. If you have specific questions about your daughter, and hopefully the administration will agree with me, probably the first place to go is with your instructors, right? And her
that.
instructors and those sorts of things, and to talk to them first,
Been
and to
there.
keep talking, because we do try to talk about things of general applicability at the committee meetings as well. But I would say in terms of if you want to dive down into the details and to hear what the administrators have to say on various topics and how the board responds and talks about those things in a less prescribed manner than is here at the board meetings, the education committee is the way to go. In terms of and you had another question about, I'll take the last one, testing in areas of improvement in that sort of vein. Again, it's an education committee topic, and we did go over that in pretty good detail at our last meeting. And so I would encourage you to, if you haven't already, those meetings are recorded and they're on YouTube, and you can watch them. You can watch them at double speed, so you don't have to sit through the entire meeting. But there is a lot of information there, and then once you maybe have talked about that, and you can feel free to come to the education committee meetings, and there is a section in there, like here, where if there are things that aren't on the agenda, there's still public participation associated with it. So
Okay.
you should be able to feel free to talk about it from that perspective. And then the last item is you talked about AI. Mike, I don't know if you want to come up for a second. I'll give some general comments here. But like many districts across the country, I think that we recognize the potential and challenges of incorporating AI into really K-12 education in our district. TSD, I think we're proactively working through those items so as to be able to continue to provide the high level of education product that our community has come to expect from here, from our high-performing district. Most of that effort has been, some of that effort has been outlines many of those efforts in education committee meetings like I talked about. We had one last spring that talked about AI. Again, you can look at that. We have all of these archived on YouTube. And we do have another one coming up in January where that's going to be talking about AI use in our district and instruction in our district. We also have AI work groups that are comprised of our educators, our teachers, and administrators from all levels, from elementary school to middle school to high school, where they try to work through these issues and see how best and talk about best practices in terms of incorporating AI into our educational program. So as a general aspect, I think that's what I can talk about. Mike, I don't know if I stole all your thunder or if you have any details that you want to provide. This is Dr. Mike Simondera.
Sure, I can provide a bit more information. And Mr. Bradley, it's nice to meet you in person. I know we've spoken on the phone several times, so yep. I always appreciate your feedback when you share it. In terms of AI literacy, that's the term you brought up a question about at the middle school level. Pleased to say that we do offer lessons specifically about AI literacy now in grades 5 through 8, and we just started that last year, and it's expanding this year, and then a 4th lesson next year. So currently all of our middle school students have participated in lessons last year about specifically images generated by artificial intelligence, some of the literacy skills that go along with interpreting those images and deciphering what's real and what's been generated by artificial intelligence. We're adding a lesson this year in 7th and 8th grade about how AI training works and how models are worked so that our students, if they find themselves engaging with AI models, they have an understanding of sort of foundationally what's happening behind the scenes and how is that generative AI working. And that's also an opportunity for us to talk a little bit about how bias can be introduced into AI training. So that new lesson is going to be coming out within the next few weeks for all of our 7th and 8th graders. And then next year, we'll be adding a 4th lesson at the middle school level about academic honesty and what constitutes original work and some of the interesting topics that surround that. I can also share, I know you mentioned your daughters at the middle school level, but at the high school, an exciting change this year. This is the first time that the district has been able to engage students in direct instruction about artificial intelligence, which is starting when our students reach 9th grade in certain courses. Generally at the high school, it is still at teacher discretion if students are going to use AI, but we do have the ability now because of some changes with licensing with Microsoft Copilot that they lowered the minimum age for students down to the high school age. So this is the first time we've been able to direct students at the high school level to actually use artificial intelligence tools in the course of instruction.
Progress. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I would hope that it would go faster, given the rate and speed that it's happening. But and I don't know. Am I allowed to talk now, or should I wait?
No, I think the issue, and again, this is part of the reason why we have these meetings and the education committee meetings.
That's fair.
The education committee is more of a back and forth. So I really do encourage you to come to the next one, and the one in January. Thank you. Okay. Any other comments from the public? All right. So the public comment periods for this evening are now closed. This is the point in our meeting when we make any announcements required by the Pennsylvania Sunshine Act. Our solicitor this evening is Ken Roos, and he will make any required announcements.
The board did meet prior to this meeting, but there was no deliberation, so there's no executive session to announce.
Thank you, Mr. Roos. Future meetings. Monday, November 24th, 2025, regular board meeting, 7:30 p.m. at Conestoga High School, right here, same time, same place. Monday, December 1st, 2025, reorganizational board meeting. That is again here, 7:30 p.m., Conestoga High School. We're now at the point for general announcements. I will turn to the board and see if we have any general announcements from board members. Nope, seeing none. I direct everybody to the correspondence received by the board this past period since our last board meeting. It's on page 112. I will now call for, we're at the point of the meeting for adjournment, so I will call for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor to adjourn signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You can stay here. Ayes have it. Thanks very much. Thank you, everyone.